that that bug, so no one else needs to do so.
Yeah. So this is what I said on the mailing list, and somebody else said, which I think is a good point, well, this is what incomplete means, except is what incomplete meant before we auto expired them. So it's as if there are two states. There's incomplete, but is okay to sit there as a bug, and there's incomplete and it needs to go to invalid because it's a submitter's responsibility to try and keep it alive.
Can you use text for that?
Well, that's kind of what I'm suggesting, yeah. What the suggestion on the mailing list from somebody was, well, we had that until we broke it when we started auto-expiring bugs. So what I'm suggesting is actually maybe there are two different incomplete states, which we're overloading.
Although I think requiring the original reporter to own the process of maintaining the bug is probably unfair to the reporter, because someone who reports that they encountered a bug may not actually know enough about what happened.
That's often the
That's what
case.
he's saying. So
Yeah.
we only want to auto-expire if we've asked for information and they're not coming back with it.
Oh, yeah.
That's it exactly. But sometimes there's not really anything you can ask, or you've asked, you got your answers, and there's not really anything further you can do. You can admit that maybe there is a bug there, and the reporter doesn't have enough debugging capability to be able to figure it out for us, and I don't really have enough instructions to try and talk him through it. But I want that to be there because it's a potential problem, because there was an error message and there was some kind of failure.
So
and somebody else might be able to take that up in the future. So I don't want to mark it as invalid. Fundamentally, that's the issue.
But the second process you're talking about is more of a technical issue rather than a bug process issue.
Right.
Well, it's both, because
No, it's just technical at that point. You just don't know what to do, right?
Well, no, I don't know what to do there's nothing I can do technically to progress the bug further. That's maybe the technical issue.
How
The
can you
process
progress?
issue is, where does this go? I don't want to see it anymore unless somebody else reports a similar bug, or I'm searching for bugs because I'm trying to find similar bugs. I don't want it to be in a triage list. So this is what I said on the main list is, whatever the process we decide for triage is, there should be a positive action to take on every bug on the list. And then once we've taken that positive action, the bug needs to no longer be on the list
Okay, so
for the next day.
Clint's made a point here that expiring of unanswered reports is really valuable because it means someone doesn't have to go mark it invalid after a month, which is what we used to do before we had auto expiry. So I agree that we shouldn't get rid of that. But Clint's second point is that, as we can all see up there, is that the report can't explain it and the developer can't progress it is invalid. But maybe we shy away from actually using that status because we don't like saying no. I don't.
What's your invalid states, though?
I don't think it's invalid. I think it's possible to do something. It might be an issue, but we can't do nothing.
So one fix.
No, we can just
No, 'cause
say something like, this is an issue, or we need to get more information to check if this is valid, and set to incomplete. And then if someone else reports a similar bug, we might think, oh, this might be an issue, so we should look at.
How about opinion? Because reading opinion description says that the bug is in frozen state until it's discussed otherwise.
Opinion
Yeah,
has
but
generally been seen as a conclusion to a bug.
No,
It's the equivalent of a
I
won't
don't think-
fix.
I don't think opinion is. I think opinion is where there's debate as to whether this thing is a bug or not, and that needs to progress, but we don't want it in a triage report. That's how I use it. But people use opinion in a million different ways. so
But
it's
people
fine.
use opinion as an alternative to won't fix when there's a debate, and
Okay.
that's
So-
how I understand
so-
it from the
so
wiki description.
Let's get to focus on solutions. We obviously need some way of marking bugs that we've had correspondence on potentially with the reporter, and neither the reporter can express what they did, and we can't diagnose sufficiently to then move that on to the next state. We'll give it, but we still want that bug in the system, because then if we start looking at trending, that really helps us, okay? So I think the action out of this is to identify a way of doing that. I don't think we need to decide exactly how that's done now, and then work that into the reports, would be my thought. Does everybody agree that that is a good thing to have?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah?
Using opinion, you mean?
No, I'm not saying how we do this. I'm saying We need a way of classifying bugs that we are unable to progress any further,
Yes.
but still could be bugged.
Yeah, so such that that does not appear on a triage list until something else happens. Now, ideally, even the reporter, to make a further comment, should make it pop up on a triage list again. In an ideal world.
Something like blocked.
And-
Yeah. or
And the
stuck.
incomplete is not sufficient because it goes away magically.
Yeah, because incomplete is also used for when we're pending response from the reporter, and we are progressing a bug we think we know is a bug and we can fix. So,
Not necessarily incomplete is pending a reply, is pending information. It might be yours. I'm
Oh, yeah,
investigating, I'm not sure. I need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
It's incomplete.
okay.
Would
Okay.
this need to be on a per person or per team basis? Like if one person on the team has reviewed the bug, would that count as everybody on the team having reviewed it? Or would you want to track it for each person?
I think this is a team level, but I don't think that stops a second person also reviewing that bug. It shouldn't within the team. Because what one person's triage day has a particular set of expertise, because that's the packages or software they know. Tomorrow's person on the rotor might know more, or have more opinion. So the problem is we've got such a volume of bugs in the triage process at the moment that I don't think that's happening effectively. So if we can get that number down by filtering out things like bugs which we can't progress anymore, which I'm sure we have quite a few of, which are blocking the process, then that will become more effective. Okay, so should we just shift on and review the rest of the process?
There's just one catch I thought of, which is that I might mark a bug as cannot be progressed, but James might actually be able to progress it. That's happened without me marking it, because I've looked at a bug and gone, I don't know, and currently there's no process, so it stays on the list, and I see James has managed to geniusly do something about it the next day. So we might want a system to manage that too. I don't know. I'm just
Well,
throwing
when
it
I was
out there.
talking to Robbie about this, it was almost, there's a triage process where you want to be able to look at it and be able to get to a solution. But I think the first part you're talking about is, I've taken a look at the bug, I've requested information, I've read the bug report, and I've touched it, I've looked at it, I've filtered it, I've screened it. I haven't yet begun the full triage process yet. I've basically given it a little bit of attention, a little bit of look. And I think that's the first part of someone coming in and taking a look at a set of bugs, is knowing which bugs haven't even been at least taken the first glimpse at. And I think the part of taking that, however you identify it, is saying, in that first step, what do you do? And I think that first step can be as simple as reading the bug report, asking for additional information, and then marking it as looked at or touched.
Yeah.
So when someone comes and takes a look at that set of bugs, they know that set has been done. How they know that? It being marked as such, it hasn't gone through the full triage process. But then you don't have to have at that point you don't decide if it's on, can't be progressed or on triage. You can at least say, I've taken a look at it and I've marked it as such and I requested information and it's waiting for that.
But I think that's what we get by following what we already do, which is either assigning that importance or asking for more information and not assigning importance because we can't. I don't think we should be jumping to this is awkward bug status that we can't reproduce on first touch. I think that's wrong. Because we should have at least be asking for something from the reporter, and if they then never respond, then ultimately that may get to someone. Scott's looking contemplative, so.
My problem with triage is that I try to fix and I lose time. Or in fully understanding what the problem is and to the point where it could be. And I just can't get through more than 3 or 4 bugs that way.
Okay, so my triage day, I do what we've just discussed, and then I go on to the new bugs queue. So this is bugs which are still new, i.e. we've not asked for a response from the reporter, but we have assigned initial classification. And I work through that in priority order, high to low. Anybody else do that?
I
Or
never get that
far.
I rarely get that far.
Yeah.
I don't even clear out the original queue.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
like Scott
I
said,
started to do was something completely different, which was I felt that the process was a bit broken and wasn't getting anywhere. So instead, I just watched the Ubuntu server bugs list and Triage out of there. I just pick out the bugs that I think can be progressed, that I see in there, and I work on those. And I stopped using the main page, which is a bad thing. I'd like to use the main page when we can make it functional again. That's how I feel about it. Because I felt that looking at the list of all the bugs and everything going on is actually no worse than looking at the new queue where I'm seeing all this other stuff going on and I'm having to be a human filter, but now I'm not even seeing everything. So I'd rather see everything and then work on progress.
So I do look at the Ubuntu server bugs list as well, because I have the same issue with you in terms of knowing what's active. My concern with just using that is that the most active bugs tend to get the most attention because they bubble to the top of the list.
Same with the current list. That's kind of why I've gone to doing. I mean, I'm not saying it's the right solution. I'm saying we need to fix the
I know,
lists.
yeah.
But in the meantime, this is what I am doing.
So what's lacking in that report that helps us use it effectively? Is it the fact that we're just getting so many new bugs in and we're not pushing those through process quickly? So that second list of bugs.
I think it is one thing, which is that there are bugs that are being looked that stay in the list, get stuck in the list. In a week, every charger will have looked at that bug, which I think is a waste of our effort. And not only that, the following week there'll be bugs in there, and I'll click on and go, "Oh, I've already read this one. I can't do anything on it next." And that's how it seems to go for me. I think if we got rid of those, so the list only shows us new things that need actions doing. So the idea is that everything in there has a positive action that needs to be taken. The list would be a lot smaller, and everybody would make a lot more progress.
Can you have like someone who touched, like someone from the team on that list, say last touch by? So you know you have a list of these are the bugs I touched, these are the bugs I know, like.
That's kind of what I want to see. Yeah, I don't know how to do it because tags seem like a horrible answer to that problem. Also, if a reporter touches a bug that we have marked somehow as we can't progress this further, it immediately needs to be back in our triage list because we need to re-examine it to see if there's more information that means that we can progress it. And a tag, unfortunately, doesn't auto-disappear.
That's an issue with incomplete in general. Lots of times people respond to the bug, but you're not marking it. Is that fixable?
We can work around that.
I mean,
we can have a cron job that just looks at the bugs and...
I mean,
but I think a lot of times
Well, it might be.
people respond with the information you want, but they don't know that they're even allowed or should put it as out of incomplete. I mean, obviously you can tell them that, but
I thought it
I'll
used to
tell people that
automatically
and they
do that.
still don't do it.
It does. So, okay. So that's really what this list of stuff is intended to do, but it doesn't work quite right because it is.
Okay.
I see.
And see how you're sorting it by last touch? That's the other thing. We actually want to... I feel that the right order to do it is from the oldest touched. But in practice that doesn't work because the oldest touched bugs tend to be the ones that can't be touched, which is why they haven't been touched, but they shouldn't be in the list.
So just to go back to that incomplete with response, I believe that report is generated is a response since the bug was marked as incomplete. That doesn't necessarily mean that's from the reporter. So
No, actually with response from the report.
Is it? Oh, is it
Yeah.
actually driven from that? Okay. So that's...
There was a fix into Launchpad.
It was fixed.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a complete fix, but it should be as part of the fix. A few months ago.
It's broken again? What is...
If you changed like the priority of the bug, if it was incomplete with response or without response, that would mark it as incomplete with response. But obviously just doing that is not a response. So that got fixed some months ago.
Okay, sorry, I'm just thinking back over what we've discussed to see if there's anything we need to pull out from there. So, it sounds like there's cycles being wasted by people looking at bugs, not touching them, but not having no way of saying, I've looked at it, but I can't progress it.
Right. When you triage bugs, do you feel that there's a pattern or something that you do that could be automated to do this first triage for you, so you can actually start looking at the second list instead of doing this initial triage? Just like you have a report that it most likely it's not going to be possible to extract anything useful from there. So do you think we could map this and start trying to do something
Okay,
automated?
So the reports you get where it's the app port information and one line saying I upgraded and it did this.
Just like a package installation
Yeah,
failure.
those are ones which waste time, typically waste time.
So we could start looking at installation failures and maybe grouping them, or try to find a way to...
Maintainer script failures that have resulted in automatic submissions could certainly be grouped away. That would be really useful.
So we could split, or split and make them installation failures.
Yeah, so installation failures are useful for trending, definitely. I mean, they are useful for bug diagnosis as well, but they're more useful for looking at trending. So if we get a lot of installation failures on a particular version, then that generally indicates something's wrong with the maintainer.
What about this? You have a list of bugs that are not installation or upgrade failures that are most likely to be issues.
Yeah,
And then if a bug has like more than 10 duplicates, an installation failure or something, then it starts showing up on this list.
that would work
Yeah.
well. I'd like to be able to see that list as well, but that's a kind of supporting function rather than a driving process function. Anybody disagree with that?
And when we look at
I'm looking at Chuck, who's like been here longer than anybody, so that's you.
Can you repeat the question?
So, automated bug reports due to installation or upgrade failures
Yeah.
create they've done a lot of time in terms
Yeah.
of triage. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do sometimes contain useful information,
Yeah.
which is related to underlying bugs in software, but
Yeah.
more often than not, they're more useful in trending. So if we get 10 of those on a specific package, that tells us something.
Yeah,
about the
that
package.
tells us the package is broken.
Yeah. So what Ursula is proposing is we actually look at those more automatically and say, okay, so if we get above X threshold of installation failures on a particular version,
Yeah.
then that bubbles up to the main new bugs triage list.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look at that separately as well, but the primary focus should be on things where we're getting trends
Yeah.
of bug reports, or whether we've got one-off bug reports, which are probably more complete because someone's taking the time
And
to report.
there's other bugs like for Samba, they can't just debug because it's specific to their setup.
Yeah.
Like I have an Active Directory of 10,000 machines. I can't really debug that properly.
Yes.
So maybe I have a list of like those kind of bugs, like messed up, like very specific kind of configurations. Can't
And we
really-
can probably do that with a tag of some script.
Yeah.
Something you were doing, I noticed, James, recently was with the auto-generated upgrade failures on some of the packages I was looking at. And maybe it's something we should do when we get a certain number of them, but going through the app port logs to find common error messages. So you were just going in and parsing out like exactly where it failed and something specific to the problem, and just pasting it as a comment to go along with the auto-generated stuff, so the next person looking at it doesn't need to do that.
Yeah,
So I
do
noticed
that.
there's something also doing that, and then attaching that signature to the bug report, but I have no idea where that's coming from.
Apport you can have Apport hooks.
It's not output, because it happens post-bug submission.
You're saying someone's doing that, and you're not doing that?
I'm not doing that. No, but not pasting it as a comment, but adding it as an attachment to the report.
Okay.
It
Just
kind
that
of
little
pulls,
snippet.
it pulls out the signature from the installer log and attaches it to the report.
What do you mean by signature installer?
Yeah, the actual folds in the install log, so the package
Right.
install failure, it pulls out the text of that and
Is that not an Apport hook on the installer?
I have no idea. I don't know where it's coming from. But it's happening not on bug report. It's happening after initial bug submission. So it's not something that Apport is doing. I wonder whether it was.
user is make that change from the activity log?
I'd have to look at that. So, I
Because
know.
it could be a bot.
It's definitely a bot of some description, but I don't know
So you
whose.
probably find out, right? Who owns that bot?
Yeah, I'll dig one out and we'll have a look at it. Because that information is really useful, because anything that has duplicate signature and say package version is more than likely the same problem.
Yeah. You might want to look at improving the app workbook itself,
Mm.
because I've done that with the Xbugs a lot. Like if there's some information that I can consistently pull out of the attachments, to just make the app workbook do it directly.
Mm.
A lot of server packages have app hooks already, so try to get the users to run the app hooks as well.
Yeah,
And we probably need to add more app hooks as well.
I think that would be a good objective.
Yeah.
You can also, what I've done with X, because I have a lot of packages to manage, I just make one app workbook and just send them to that app workbook
Yeah.
for all packages.
Yes,
You might
I've
wanna
done
do
similar,
that
yeah.
too.
Yep.
You're right, if we're not being able to deal with installation and update problems, it's because we should do reports and those bugs will be reported.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. And also, Brian Murray has some scripts to auto-detect. Like if you have bugs that just habitually come up, and you just want them all duplicated together, it'll detect, like with package failures, if there's like common error
Yeah, you can
messages.
write patterns.
Yeah. you
Yeah,
can
I've
write
done that
patterns
for some.
To make those automatically do.
Yeah, there's just a Mass Effect XML file, you just add regular expressions in, and it will auto mark. I think it suggests to reporters that is probably a duplicate, and it certainly stops the duplicates from arriving as new bugs.
Okay.
So these things are all really useful, but I think the single most important thing is to get the list to not include.
The things we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean something like a blocked tag or something.
Well, I have a suggestion there, because I have the same problem with the Xbugs. And what I do is, I only look at bugs that don't have the priority set to them, or the importance set to them, because only a, triager or a person that's a maintainer of a team can set that priority. So if I exclude those and I only look at bugs that are in state new, then I know that those are all ones that, people haven't looked at before. And then when I get done looking at them, I just change the priority or the importance or the status to something other than new and undecided.
That's pretty much the first step of our triage process, is we should be trying to do exactly that. But
So
we're
then you
struggling
just
with
need
it.
to have the report limit itself to those, to exclude the.
Yeah, so that
That's
is.
what the first tab is.
Yeah, that's our first tab. But there's 59 in there at the moment.
But can you say with great certainty that everyone, when they take a look at a brand new bug, is following that exact same process so that it moves to the.
Well, what we're saying is that we don't have enough information to decide that even the priority. And so it
Yeah.
stays on here until the next person looks at it. And so.
And even
we
if
need
we do
something
decide the
different.
priority, it ends up in the next tab where there's 260.
Perhaps.
So
You just need to tag it then.
it doesn't solve the problem.
You need to tag it. Tag it something, like, add a tag.
Yeah,
somehow.
so I propose a tag called blocked and a cron job which removes the tag called blocked if there's been any activity on the bug since the bug was tagged blocked.
But you're not so much blocked, you're just still looking for more information, and maybe the first step isn't looking to set the priority, maybe the first step is just looking to make sure the bug has all the right pieces to be able to move to a triage state. Once you start triaging the bug and more bug reports come in, you can obviously adjust the priority, but I think what we're trying to say is, what do you do before triage, and how do you signal to others that you've done that? And that first step can be as simple as just reading the bug report and saying, I'm taking a look at it, looks valid, it's not crazy, just a mistake someone made, and now we're going to look at it into a triage process and look at evaluating the priority. And
Yeah,
to
but then
your
we're
point-
stuck.
And to your point, Ursula, you're saying, it's another view to look at, but that's exactly the view we want to look at. We want folks to be able to look at the list and say, this bug is taking an initial look at it. I'm not gonna, so we don't have 5 developers taking an initial first look at it, and all of them saying that I need to do this.
I'm still uncomfortable with this because I think that if you're not able to say if a bug is valid or not, it's incomplete. So we should do something.
Say it's what?
Incomplete. So if we are not able to say if a bug is a bug or not, it's incomplete. So we should ask for information
Sure.
and set to incomplete. And then it will be in the incomplete list, and if the reporter give us information, it's going to appear in the incomplete with response.
But sometimes there's just no sensible information to even ask for. Or you've asked for all the information, they've given you everything, and you're still kind of like,
Yeah,
well,
but in that second instance, you touched it. It's started process. People can see you're progressing that bug. It's when...
well, no, at that point it gets stuck. It's not
Yeah, no,
progressing
but we're not
anymore.
talking about that. We're talking about the fact we have this big long list of bugs, and Serge might look at them one day and not touch anything, and Scott might look at them the next day and he might not touch anything. But I know he does that. But and then I'll look at them and I might touch a few, but I don't know that Serge or Scott has touched them. Yeah.
Yeah, but you
that's
don't
what
even
yours-
want to look at the bug to
Yeah.
discover if someone's touched it or not. It should just not be on
I
your
know,
list.
which is exactly the point. Is even if you look at the bug and there's no useful information there about that will allow you to set the priority of it, we should be endeavouring to ask the right questions at
Yes.
that point in time when you look at the bug to get that
Because-
information. If there's missing output information, you get them to do that. If they haven't described what they did to repeat abuse problem, you ask them for definitive steps as to how they encountered this issue. That's how you
But
progress
see,
it. If
my
you can-
first step is always I fire up, unless it's
Right.
something like you was talking about where it's you need 1,000 nodes. I fire up an EC2 instance with their release and I try and reproduce the upgrade failure or whatever, which takes a lot of time. And that, do you think we're better off asking for more information blindly, or do you think we're better off
Okay,
trying to reproduce
so-
it and spending a half hour on
And,
it?
and I think this is where we have differentiation between general install upgrade failures and specific bug reports where someone has found a problem and reported that bug.
Yeah.
So the value of those bug reports is generally much higher, and you are able to progress it easier because someone's taken some time to actually...
So then we're back to, we should filter the ones
Yeah.
that, where there's
We
3
need
of
to,
them or
we need
so.
to roll them up.
Right.
We need to roll them up, and
yeah.
we need to know when we've got 5 of X, Y, Z package failing to install or upgrade. And then that bubbles up, and you can see there's 5 of them, and then we need to look at that. And that's when
There's
it's
one,
been-
actually,
But we
there's-
don't want to mark
there's one
those
thing
as
I would add.
incomplete, because
No,
then they'll become
absolutely not.
invalid, and then we won't know there's
Right,
five.
we just filter them out of this view. But in cases where AppWord automatically says they have this customized file, I think a bot that automatically shows the diff between the stock and their version of the configuration file,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, an
that
Apple
would be
hook
very
could do
useful
that.
too. What's that?
An Apple hook could do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Well, you,
but looking at that list, that happens in Samba. I mean, it does all the time.
Yeah, Samba
Right.
is the most annoying package.
Yeah, it is.
And
It has a lot of installation failures, and it pisses me off because I would love to fix this. It seems to be a failure that has been lasting for a lot of versions of the package.
But none of
And
the
this is-
reporters will tell us what the hell they've done to it to make it happen.
Yeah.
Most of those bugs in Samba are like junk, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But lots of them have the same error message.
Yeah, it is. It's either their Samba configuration is broken somehow.
So we should do something about the
We
package.
should, but
The maintainer script. What happened to test? Samba has test palm.
Okay, so
Samba has test palm.
palm
Do we not
is
run
the biggest
test?
cause of upgrade failures?
what's that?
Test palmers, because one of the daemons runs test palm on start
MVP,
pre-start,
yeah.
and if it returns anything other than 0, the daemon fails to start, you get an upgrade.
Exactly. this.
But we should log that data. The output clerk should call that and give us the output or something.
Yeah, but
Can we just have a test palm failure in
People don't
the?
run the app work.
Yeah, but on upgrade failure it does.
Can we not just have the startup script? Print a particular string on a test palm
That's-
failure saying you got an invalid
Okay,
config file,
Let's not get too focused on the
and then
specific
just not
issue.
allow that bug to be submitted.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a lot of Samba
You
bugs,
can pop
and we
up-
need to do
You can
something.
actually pop up the dialogue.
Okay.
Tell the user, you can't file this, and this is why.
Or I mean, they can file it, but they need to do a manual bug report.
Like a pop-up with a GUI or,
Yeah.
well,
You can do that with that.
Most of the Samba bugs come from desktop
all right, yeah.
Yeah.
installs,
yes,
which is a
If
separate.
there's no X display.
this is why it's
Yeah.
the best.
Pop up.
Yeah.
Versus whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so what I would do is to create a report that isolates the installation bugs for now, and I'll start checking personally the installation upgrade bugs and see if I can do something with AppWord, because this bug, if it's not a bug, it shouldn't be reported, so we should fix that in AppWord. this is something that we need to do because we don't have time to waste, and we might miss some valid issues if we don't look at them.
Is there any scope for Whoopsie Daisy to help us here?
Sorry?
Is there any scope for Whoopsie Daisy to help us here?
I don't
Evan's
know,
thing.
because
It's supposed to do stuff in
this
ag.
specific issue, no.
I spoke with Evan about that this morning. He's running some sessions tomorrow. He wants server team attendance at to discuss specifically how we might leverage that in server deployments. So I'd probably park that in for the moment, but yes, there might be some stuff. Plus, I find it very unnerving when I find a daemon called Whoopsie Daisy running on my servers. But that's
Well, the other thing you got to worry about with Whoopsie Daisy on the server is people might be afraid that it's going to leak sensitive information.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And I think that's a general thing we need to talk about. It needs to be opt-in, not implicit, and it isn't it's implicit at the moment.
But from the bug triage perspective, they've already decided to submit automatically submitted bugs.
Which is
so
why
they-
it's opt-in.
Yeah.
So
They don't want to submit the information. We don't get the bug reports. We don't have to deal with it.
I think everything we're talking about at the moment is going to help us manage the new undecided new bugs list in a better way, so that we're focusing on the bugs that are going to deliver us the most value because they're being reported in the most effective way. So hopefully that will help with the issue where it takes all day to get through the new bugs list and you never get onto the rest of them. Okay? So I think if we kind of part the first two steps of the process, which is what we have been talking about for most of this session, and just talk about the last two steps. So incomplete with response, I think if we can get to that in triage days, which I don't think we are at the moment, then that will be a good objective, and I'm hoping that what we discuss will let that happen. Incomplete without response is the biggest waste of time. It never gets touched, and it's something that can be automated. If there's no response within 2 weeks, you ask them to respond again, and if there's no response in the month, you mark it invalid because they haven't responded. That is completely automatable.
So
Do you even need to ask them after 2 weeks?
Do you know
Well,
what
we
else?
do generally as just a politeness thing, but
You know what else is?
Well, imagine you file a bug and go on vacation.
it's not a problem because when it gets marked invalid, they get an email saying you can change it back if you respond now.
No. Do you know what's automatable? Leaving it as incomplete and it will expire.
I know, but I
You
like
can always
to
reopen.
poke people personally.
Don't.
But you were wasting your time
Yeah.
doing that
Yeah.
because other people are reporting invalid and bugs that
I know,
you
but
can't do
what I'm
something.
saying is if we can automate that just to poke people.
But the
why not
problem
do
is
that?
what he said, that it will fire an email saying you can't change it back to
Yeah.
Brian.
If
What do you
instead
do
of
with that?
automating it by poking them first, you'll get more of a response from people by actually marking invalid and explaining to them
Okay, so
that
Yeah,
they can
that's actually
respond
what I do with the
and
Xbot bugs. I don't wait for it to expire after 4 weeks. I expire it deliberately at 3 weeks with a message saying, please reopen if you have the information you've requested. Because it doesn't give you a message currently if it auto expires.
Oh, really?
I get messages.
Oh, does it?
Well, I mean, as a submitter, I get messages when they expire.
Okay.
So,
But
I mean, as in I've submitted bugs that have been incomplete that I can't do anything about, and then
So
go invalid, I get a message.
This may be a historical thing. In the past, we've looked at incomplete bugs without responses and asked for response, but that probably was when we didn't have auto expire. So I suggest we just take that out of our process, and
Yeah.
if someone responds, it comes back onto our list. If someone doesn't, it auto expires and no one cares anymore.
That sounds good.
Okay, if we can go
That's
back to
what-
incomplete, if we can go back to incomplete with response, when I started on the server team, I thought, oh, well, that's a list of stuff that I could actually work on. And I looked at those bugs, and most of them, if you look at them, you can't work on. So it's the same, I feel that they're blocked. And if you just take one at random, I bet you that you can't really progress it. Well, that's the most recent one. That's happened yesterday, so it probably can be. If you look at an older one.
Well, Eucalyptus fails to build from source on Maverick. Why does anyone care?
That needs to be marked as low for a start.
Well, Maverick's no longer supported, so it needs to be expired.
okay, I'll do this.
But I do think that you.
But look at
basic-
the oldest
your
one,
basic
for
point
example, because
that
I just looked at the oldest one and it's just like, well, what do we do with that?
Shouldn't
Why
that
is it
be done
even in the
automatically?
list?
Anything for an end of life the release should just be
It'd be
marked
nice,
invalid.
Yeah.
There is some auto
So
script that
when
does
a-
that. I'm
if
sure.
there's-
every
Apparently
feature.
not, it's still
So
sitting there.
if there's bugs nominated for particular releases, those, because it only affects that release, and that release goes out of support, i.e. no one's actually deemed it high enough priority to actually fix the problem, then they could be auto expired or made invalid because, or won't fix because it's not.
Well,
I have a
I
script.
think that might happen already.
You do? Right,
Yes.
marvellous.
yeah, the script.
Automate script.
I think that might happen already. It's just that if a bug, I mean, that one with Maverick, is it actually nominated for Maverick or?
Well, it could also be nominated for Lucid, Natty, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll still be on that list.
Well, the Lucid one can stay open, but the Maverick one,
Yeah.
I mean, there, only Maverick was open.
So you see, Maverick is in. Oh, okay. Maverick is invalid and fixed released.
Okay, so I just think,
So-
I think this reflects the fact no one ever gets new incomplete with response. And
No one gets
if
to
I'd
it.
seen, if I got to this bug,
Yeah.
I'd have just closed it. But I'd never get to this bug because I run out after 3 hours. Can't
Yeah.
cope anymore.
And if you have problems with bugs with someone who has more experience with the package than you, just ask, you know?
It's a bit awkward when you're doing it at different times and they're not up
you
yet.
Leave a message, someone will get back to you.
So, I thought you guys said they would auto-expire in a month? That was-
It's slightly over, I think 60 days.
Okay, because I'm seeing one with 57 days, it's like, that's way more than a month. 60 days.
I mean, essentially what I'm saying is if you look through the triage list today, the majority can't actually be worked on by anyone in the server team right now. And so I feel that they shouldn't be in the triage list at all.
Yeah. I can see that.
So do you have did you have a next thing on your list? Because the next thing on the next tab is new bugs. I mean, I guess we don't ever get that. But even then, I guess when they go to triage, then we're just equally screwed as what it amounts to. Is there's I don't see the number here, but I'm guessing a massively larger number of things that are marked as triaged and will never be investigated any further.
Yes.
I thought that triage was the point where the bug can be actually worked on.
Yeah.
Can be, if someone has,
No, but he said investigated.
Oh, no, I'm saying that there's some huge amount of bugs that are marked as triaged and medium, and they will sit there forever and ever and ever.
Yeah,
I mean-
that's okay though, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. No. But largely
was
our
it
focus in
validly
triage is getting it off of this list, is what I'm saying, and then it just goes away.
So
And I
they should-
know that I have felt like people do that to me when I open bugs against like Unity or different things. It feels like they just get it off the list and then it goes away.
So really we should have another tab for triage and we should actually be working more.
You should actually fix bugs too. Yes.
The thing is we're slightly
It is a
overloaded
really good
because
point.
we're doing triaging as well as developing fixing bugs. And those are
Oftentimes-
two different hats, but
Yeah.
Do you guys
we're
forward
doing-
bugs upstream?
Yes, depends on the package.
usually fix the bug and then send them the fix.
Well,
Even better.
Because
well, I don't know, I mean,
if it's
even
not
better,
important,
but that a lot of times, I think that might be time poorly wasted, where the upstream might have fixed it faster and better.
Yeah, that's what I usually do with those in state, like they've been through my triage process and I don't know what to do with them. I just forward them upstream and then take them
The
off
problem
the
is that there's
list.
so many packages in the server set, and every upstream is different than how they want to deal with it, and our how we've merged it. Like with libvirt, we basically can't do that right now because we're so far off from the upstream libvirt that.
in a way, sending it upstream is a way of resolving the bug for us. But it means that we've got to get around to looking at the bug and writing it up for upstream. And then we could kind of...
Personally, for me, for X, I find that's the most useful use of my time because, like you said, they can fix it faster, give me a patch, and then I can actually have a fix in the distro. So that's often where I start my triaging, is if there's any bugs that are fixed upstream that I've forwarded, I do those first.
is it not systematic? I mean, I don't know exactly how you guys are working with bug, but I was kind of thinking that each time you have a problem that you know it's a bug, you check if it exists on upstream and if it has been fixed. Is it not the way you work?
Yeah, you run on Madison. You should see, look at the version numbers on Debian and on Ubuntu as a first step, really.
Yeah, so then
Actually,
there's upstream Debian and upstream also.
I think we should look on both sides. I mean, first of all, because maybe it's already fixed and it's a gain of time to just backport whatever has been done. And if it has not been fixed and it's fixed on Ubuntu, it's behavior to just inform whoever is in charge in Debian or in the real stream.
I think that we do that, but that we don't really think of it because it's the minority of bugs where that we have to triage that we're able to do it. So we do that on bugs that we fix by finding the upstream fix and saying, oh, it's fixed upstream. It will be in the next version of web. That does happen, but it's just not very many. Most of them are. Most of the problem with triaging is the bugs where that does not apply, because it's a packaging bug in Ubuntu, or because we haven't figured out what the bug is yet, or where the problem is yet. So we don't know if it's an upstream problem or an Ubuntu problem. So we can't send it upstream yet.
Well,
I'd say the majority of the work. Like there are some amazing bug reports which will come in, which will say. This is the situation, this is how it is in this version, upstream is fixed it, can I have it please? I love to progress those bugs, I get those done really quickly and then they're out of my hair because it's straightforward, it's just showing them what the Ubuntu process is, you know you need to forward it there, or yeah we can SRU this, or no we can't SRU this, wait for the dev release, or whatever. That I don't feel is the problem. The problem is all the other bugs that we get piled up which don't have that amazing report.
That is a really good point about looking at upstream, and I don't think I do that enough when I'm triaging. I would say I don't do that enough.
I lose a lot of time when I do it because I look upstream, and most of the time it's, there's no git or commit message or something, so then you're looking to try to reproduce it to see if it's upstream, and then you reproduce it here, and then you build the upstream, and then there's an hour and a half gone, and I've looked at one bug. It's not free.
It would be good if we have like server edgers, UPS again.
Yeah.
What we can start doing is to tag bug needs check upstream or something. I guess that the kernel people does that. So we can have a list of bugs that whenever people have some time or...
Weren't you trying to get away from getting developers looking at multiple lists?
Sorry?
Weren't you trying to get away from getting developers to look at multiple lists?
No, it's because this case is specific. You need to go upstream and do a check of an issue that you might just get from upstream and don't have to waste your time or use your time developing. So what I'm trying to do is just to mark these specific cases where the fix can be upstream, but it's really costly for you to check. And then people do the triage and get rid of the known issues and get back to this list. That would be like a semi-triage
Isn't Scott
list,
saying that
and
he's
you
not
check
sure if it's a known
upstream.
issue? He has to actually reproduce it on their latest build to see if he can reproduce that bug on the latest build? Or are you saying that you know that the patch is there and you're trying to backport it?
I am almost, so we get a lot of crap bugs in Ubuntu that have no data. I'm not willing to open a bug upstream that I can't reproduce and basically state this is the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think that's useful to
No.
anybody personally.
It's not.
And that takes time to write a good bug report, really. I mean,
So you're
anytime you open a good bug report, it's a
Yeah.
significant investment in time.
But do you spend any time looking in upstream bug tracker to see if there's any?
Well, yes, I mean, you search in there and sometimes it is, and then you mark it. Yeah, that doesn't
And you
take
can
too much
confirm,
time.
that
And you
doesn't
mark
take
that
time.
and you
And I
track
think
it.
that's probably what I'm talking about as part of triage process, rather than spending the time to, if you can reproduce the issue and it's obviously an upstream problem, yeah, fine, report it upstream. But if you're effectively trying to triage the bug still and you've got some level of information about the bug, there was one about environments with 1,000 SIDs and Samba Windbind not being able to access those. We need to SRU now. But that was reported upstream before it came to us, and then we had 2 bugs that picked up. And that was relatively easy. Actually, it's a nice pick it won't do that easy.
Yeah,
But-
you're right. So it
yeah.
absolutely makes sense to look in upstream bug track if it's not a depackage installation.
So you said to mark the tag so when people have got some time, which reminded me of something else, which is occasionally I'll have an hour before I've got a meeting or something, and I'll need to find a small chunk of work to do in that amount of time. And whenever I've gone into the charge reports to find a bug that I might be able to work on, I don't feel that I'm directed to one that I can work on. I'll pick one and go, well, this is awkward. Actually, I don't even know how to progress this one. Look for another. Actually, I don't even know how to progress this one. And most of the bugs seem to be stuck. If there was a way to find a bug that was a chunk of work, that someone has marked as a chunk of work, that I could just pick up, I would love to be able to do more of those. But we don't seem to have a way of
marking bite size or something like that, or?
I thought that's what the triage state
Yeah.
kind of meant. If it's triage, it means
Yeah,
it's
but if you look at them,
I know,
it's
but
actually quite hard.
Triage piece can be a big problem or a little problem.
Yes.
Yeah, when it's got to
Agreed.
that state. So what Robbie's saying is, I've got a spare 30 minutes, I'll fix something, and he actually spends 30 minutes trying to find something
Yeah.
to fix rather than fixing something.
Yeah, and I'll even look at charge bugs.
Well,
in
but your
others.
problem was solved. You needed to waste 30 minutes and you did.
Okay, so.
But I think bite-sized use, we probably should make more use of bite-sized tag, so people who have and
I
have,
didn't realize
okay.
that there was a.
There is,
didn't.
and it's recognised by Harvest and stuff like that as well, but that's a different conversation.
But
So
even
if you
not
triage a
bite,
bug and it's a small thing, and you
even
haven't
not
got time or
bite size,
expertise to
right?
fix
It
then-
doesn't have to be finished in an hour. I just like to get somewhere in an hour. I could come back to it later, but
Well,
I
okay,
still
then
can't find a bug. I just
triage
need-
bugs. Can fix something.
I think it's partly because once bug is triaged, most of the work's actually been done.
Well, I mean, could we
Usually
put a
if
link
it's
in
logs
our
and patches.
server guide to a page that shows the server packages that have that bite-sized tag and the server bug that have bite-sized tag?
Yeah.
That seems.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, the other question is do we have a single report that shows us every package in the server package set and the bugs associated with them?
Well, there's the subscribe packages, which basically tells you new, whatever.
But it shows you the breakdown.
Yeah.
So what?
Everybody know about that report?
No.
No. I think so.
With 10 minutes left, one of the questions that Robbie had brought up was, how do you guys, or how do folks here handle a situation where you read the bug, looks valid, but the submitter's not sure how they encountered it, and you're not sure how to reproduce it either. And so it basically comes into a non-reproducible state where you're looking for a test case to reproduce it, to check the bug, validate it, fix it when it's to be on it, but you're just not sure on how to exactly reproduce it. And one of the ideas that Robbie and I were talking about was actually putting an unreproducible tag, meaning the state of that bug would say, it looked like a valid bug, it looked everything, the information is right. However, at this time, we just don't know how to have a test case to reliably reproduce it, to even test the fix if you're ready to come upon it.
So there's that. So I'm a bit concerned that the key thing, the most important thing for me is the list and getting it smaller for bugs that we can't work on. And that's one of those, unreproducible. I need reproduction steps, please, and I want to be able to mark it bug as that, and then I don't want to appear on the list. And the second is blocked. So essentially what I'm asking for are two tags that we use, unreproducible and blocked. And I think that the list should be filtered so they don't appear or appear separately.
The thing is that I don't like the idea of unreproducible because for me it means
It's invalid.
it's not that
Or
it's not a
incomplete.
bug, but we can do nothing about it.
But in aggregate, we can.
Sorry?
In aggregate, we can. If we get 10 reporters saying this thing has happened, then it might be able to be moved ahead.
Put the link in the...
And we might be able to figure out a way to reproduce it by looking at what each reporter said or what common across all the
Right, so
reporters.
I started working on reports using the concept of gravity. Gravity means, well, you give a bug a weight given who reported, the tags it have, if it affects like 10 people, if it has 20 duplicates. So the idea is to give importance to the bug so you can work on
Yeah.
the bug that's
So-
more important.
So that would be really useful, but it can't be used if we mark the bug invalid, because then it's not going to show. So
Yeah,
we
no,
need to
but
keep the
I
bug
don't like
alive,
the idea of
so
marking
keep it
valid.
new, undecided, with an unreproducible tag, and then it can be hidden away from our triage list until your gravity shows it up because it's got dupes. Because if a reporter is not going to be able to find a dupe if the dupe is marked invalid.
I still think, but I mean, I might be the only one,
Ursula,
that if it,
what would you do in that situation would you mark it incomplete then?
yes, because I think that if you don't have enough information to reproduce, it's incomplete.
But then what happens when the
Yeah.
incomplete auto expires, becomes invalid?
I don't know if Launchpad expires incomplete with response. I have to check.
Yes, it does.
It does?
But then it's not,
Even without response?
it's not so bad
But I
though.
don't-
if you're-
okay, we can add the tag, but I don't agree leaving it new.
If it goes
I have
without-
no problem with marking it as incomplete at all.
Because it's not new, it has
Yeah,
been looked at.
it has been looked at, so we can mark it incomplete, but we don't
I
want to
agree.
invalidate
Then I
it.
agree.
We don't want it to go to invalid at all. We need
Okay.
it to stay incomplete.
Okay.
If we can do that, that's fine. But that's what it was on the mailing list when somebody said, well, that's what incomplete used to do. You basically said exactly what you want is what the incomplete state used to be.
Okay.
Until we auto-expired them, and then it causes this other issue.
And the
Okay.
question is, when you're in an incomplete state, what does that mean? If I'm looking at a bug and I see it means incomplete, does that mean because the responder didn't get back to me, didn't have their information, or are we just technically going to find a reliable?
I think we need to have some boilerplate explaining why we've marked it as incomplete. We just copy and pasted it in and then marked it as
Yeah.
incomplete.
Yeah, okay. So we're running on out of time and we're going to get bumped in a minute. So I know Ursula's written down 3 actions for that, thank you very much. But I'll pick up a general one to help refine this process and document it with Ursula so that, and I'll do a bit of comms around that to make sure everybody knows what we're proposing, and then if we need to refine it at all, then we can take that forward, and I'll do that soon so that we can get on top of that.
So what are we proposing?
I don't know. We've got lots of ideas in there, but we've got some changes to the reports, and we've got some changes to the way we categorise incomplete bugs. I think is the fundamental.
We need to be more,
Well, I
People need
thought
to do
that
their
every
triage.
incomplete change
people need
has
to do
a
their
message.
triage.
I
And
thought
people
that
need to
was
do their
the-
triage, yes.
the process.
Does it?
Because you just
Not the
can't,
only one.
because
I
once
think
the
you're
user
about to
changes
go
to
into
incomplete, if you don't ask for more information, the idea of deciding to incomplete is to say, I need more information, can you provide me?
Yeah.
And then the reporter will know what to do. So you set incomplete and it's incomplete because of I need this.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
There's
it
no
could
use of
also,
setting to incomplete to nothing.
No.
but it could also be incomplete saying, I know you can't provide this, but I can't process it further. So I'm marking it as incomplete until we get more information, maybe from another reporter or a developer who has the issue. I think that's also valid. It doesn't, because there are certain situations where there's nothing more you can ask of the reporter, but you still cannot progress it.
But then, it would be one of the triage cases.
Fire everything up per day.
I don't know.
It's not triage because the developer can't work on it.
What we agreed on,
Just be more heavy-handed.
adding the tag and moving it from new to,
Well, I would say, I would call that blocked.
but there's no such stuff.
Well, I would call a tag, I would want to tag it blocked.
I'm talking about the new, moving new to,
Incomplete with a tag blocked.
okay, the problem is we need to change Launchpad so we don't exploit the bugs, or we can change the package behavior in Launchpad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you do that, but then someone else does that.
This is the problem, because if you make it incomplete, then it auto-invalidates, and that's what I'm saying.
Let's
Okay.
put the dots together around what we want, and then we can figure out how we can.
Yeah, and that's why we're trying to
all
find it.
feature if that exists.
Okay.
But we do. Scott made a good point, is we need to remember to triage, and we're not all good at doing it. I will put my hand up to that on occasions, but I realised we were getting to a certain state, so I spent a deliberate chunk of time every day trying to catch stuff up. That has really worked, to be honest.
Question along with the bite size idea, is there a list of bugs that have been fixed in the development release but need an SRU, that have been marked as needing an SRU?
No, not.
Because it'll happen sometimes that, well, first off, there's a guy sponsoring